Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Parkside Cabin Rentals. Stress getting to you? It's getting to me. Need a little break from your everyday routine? Hey, maybe I need to head to the beautiful Smoky Mountains and rent myself a place of my own at Parkside Cabin Rentals. These guys have the biggest selection of cabins for any size group you might have, plus free parking in downtown Gatlinburg when you rent with them. Check out all their blueprints, layouts. They got them, tons of them, at parksidecabinrentals.com. All right, let's
go away and watch some college basketball.
That's right. There was stress in between segments here that was getting to me.
Play some bets,
yeah,
too.
That's right. I'll be up there watching basketball. Bob Hodge, longtime sports writer in this town, joins us. Bob, thanks for being here
Glad
today.
to be here.
All right. Congratulations on missing all the basketball talk. We don't often take time just to flat out play on this show. I know you're sitting there, they don't. But usually we got to grind, we do a lot of information and stuff. I wanted to have some fun. Everybody else in the world, media-wise, is because they've got more than 90 minutes. They talk about, all right, who should be in this conference? What should be in that conference? I thought, I'd wonder what everybody would do if I gave them their own free reign. So I asked all these guys. Chuck, didn't ask you. Jimmy was supposed to be here today. So we have a plan from Jimmy. Chuck, you're going to be our judge. What we're going to do is everybody was given the opportunity to build their own perfect SEC. What should it be? You could tell me 10 teams. You could tell me 30 teams. Don't care why you did it. Just everybody have a theory on why they're going after certain teams, how they would build it, what it should look like. Everybody's done that. So we're going to run through these fun plans just to see what the SEC would look like. And the first one, let me put up a graphic for Vince, all right? Vince had the smallest plan. His SEC was, let's see here, 12 teams instead of 16. So he would throw out some teams. No divisions in a 12-team league, which surprised me. 9-game schedule with 3 permanent foes, 6 rotating foes. You removed Vanderbilt, Missouri, Texas A&M, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. You got all that Big 12 crap out of that Southwest Conference stuff out of there to make room for Clemson and Florida State. What was your main goal in this 12-team league that cut it down to 12 and then brought in Florida State and Clemson?
Old school geography, one, as you can tell. And this would be in sync with having connections with the rest of the power conferences to where they would do the same thing. Also get back to geography. I got that kind of power, John. So.
Yeah, so I gave you SEC czar power. Yeah. You took it raw. Okay.
We all know the SEC commissioner and owner has the most power, right? Yeah. So I would force everyone else to be.
And that is another point that I did tell these guys: they can get anybody they want. Right. So there's no thinking here of, let's say the SEC, these guys can make an offer the other school couldn't refuse. Right. So go ahead.
So the others would also be 5 12-team conferences in total. So you'd have 60 kind of on a super level, and then everybody else. And the other thing is higher standards to be in the league. Like you can't just have empty arenas or faulty, not up to standard stadiums. The fan base would have to be elite, and I think with this group, that's what you would have. So yes, it would be cutting down, but everyone else would be aligned, and I think throughout the sport, I think this conference would still rise above.
And your main thrust is geography.
Geography.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chuck, you taking notes?
Yes, sir.
You got any questions as to?
Well, I mean, it would just surprise me in this era of expanding to downsize. And I don't know how you would turn to certain teams other than Vanderbilt. You could tell Vanderbilt to hit the road, I wouldn't care. But other teams that you're no longer part of the SEC.
Well, you better get used to it. All right, Bob Hodge. We've got your list up here. Let me put the map up so everybody can see this. Big black line down the middle because he's got a divisional format. He's got a 16-team league, but it was different than what the SEC has planned for next year. You went with 2 divisions, so the teams on the other side you won't see very often, but you have a 10-game schedule to try and help with that a little bit. You removed Missouri, Vanderbilt, and South Carolina in exchange for Clemson, North Carolina, and Nebraska, way up there in the north. All right, explain yourself. What was your goal, Bob?
My goal was I want to watch the ball games I watched when I was a kid. I want to watch Oklahoma and Nebraska. I want to see Alabama and Auburn. There's 2 rivalries you couldn't get into the SEC, I don't think. Michigan, Ohio State, obviously. USC, UCLA, another one. That, to me, brings back most of the traditional big games that have made college football what it was. And I went geographically as far as I could by separating them in the East and West and keeping the East in the East, West in the West. I went back to the old SEC as close as I could get, but it just wasn't going to happen. So Ole Miss, LSU, and Mississippi State go into the West. Well, think about it. Who's going to miss them over here in the East? I mean, those aren't schools that have big traditional rivalries over here in the East. And so that was my point. One, play the money game, play the TV game, and get traditional rivalries going again. That's the reason I kept Texas A&M, kept Oklahoma, bring in Nebraska. Okay. Get back to some of the big games we've lost.
Nebraska's certainly a big brand. The question is, can they get back to what they were in terms of their stature?
Yeah, I just can't see Nebraska being part of this SEC.
But you've got Oklahoma, and you've got Missouri.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm fighting for you.
I can see what you're getting to, but I want to see, if you're in the SEC, I want to see some of the other teams more. I don't want to see them less.
Well, his rotation, you'd get everybody every 4 years.
Yep.
Right.
You would get everybody every 6 years. Home and home.
away.
Right.
Home and away every 6 years in his, because he went 10.
So, exactly.
So, okay.
You're going to see
Besides,
them.
we want to see the genius coach in Knoxville again pretty soon, don't we?
Yeah, you want to see Lane Kiffin? That's right. Got to get the genius in here. Okay, when we come back, we got Jimmy's plan, we got Josh's plan, I got my plan a little later, and then we'll all discuss and Chuck can break it down. We're just having a little fun with what we would do with the SEC, and I think it's interesting. We've already got, let's put it this way, we had 5 very different plans. Everybody has a different take. Come on back on the Sports Source. We'll continue this discussion next.